And today's session is all about moving for speed in your video content. Optimizing for speed and quantity over quality, because quantity is a quality on its own, as we've said in the past. And I want to take a quick moment just to review some of the Q3 goals that our members have expressed interest in wanting to achieve. And I want to give a quick shout out to Courtney, who just recently ticked off one of her Q3 goals. She published the Pittsburgh Climbing Guide video this week, which I know has been a huge project for her. So congrats to Courtney on that. But if we take a look at some of the other goals that our participants have been setting, a lot of them are consistency based. Either I want to publish a video once a week or every day, or there are a lot of goals set around just having a consistent publishing schedule generally. And speed is a huge part of consistency. Being able to get into some sort of a routine in your content creation process is a major factor in being able to publish with consistency. And the faster you can lock down some sort of comfortable routine, the faster you'll be able to get back some of the data from those videos and figure out what is working and what is not. So I want you to consider all of the steps involved in creating just one video. The ideation period, the scripting, gear setup, shooting, post-production and editing, publishing, and then the data analysis. And I want you to take a minute and think about, on average, how long does it take you to turn around and make one video? With all of those steps, from ideation to publishing, how long does it take you to put out a single video? So hopefully you have that number in your head, or that amount of time in your head, whether it's an hour, a week. Hopefully you have a good idea of how long it takes to create one video. Now, what if I told you that the next video you publish, you have to cut that time in half? Where would you start trimming time off of your process? The ideation, the scripting, the gear setup, the shooting, post-production. Like, where is the biggest opportunity to trim time? And I have a hint for you. You can trim time everywhere. Everywhere in the process, there are shortcuts. There are ways to cut time, cut wasted time, really, out of the process. And it goes back to the idea that not every single video you put out needs to be a home run. This is an industry of lots of singles and doubles. Like, not every video is going to go viral. Not every video is going to hook your audience in the way that you want, because there's so much experimentation that needs to happen. And you can't really experiment adequately if you're never publishing content. So the general feeling here is that we need to get a lot less precious with the quality of our content and focus more on hitting some singles and doubles and just getting on base, getting stuff out there. And I want to go into all of the different steps of creating a video here and how to trim time from each of those steps. But that is the framework for today. Sound good? Sweet. All right. So let's start with the ideation process, the brainstorming. I think this is probably one of the more important steps in creating a video, because everything just starts with an idea. If the quality of your video is crappy, but the idea is great, chances are you're gonna hook your audience. So what I personally do is I keep a running list of quick ideas that I know I can shoot in less than 20 minutes. And you can keep this running list of ideas in your notes app, in whatever notes app you choose to use, or in an actual physical notebook. I have a screenshot here of, this is the actual list of video ideas that I have in my notes app currently. I need to update it because I have shot and published, I think, 4 or 5 of these in the last week. But this is a super helpful practice because I can go back and reference this video or this list. And if I have a spare hour in my day where I know, like, oh, I can turn a video around in this amount of time, I can reference this list, pick an idea, and shoot and edit within 30, 40 minutes. And then I have a new piece of content that's going out. And all of these ideas I know are quick hitters. They're all singles and doubles, and they're all meant to be able to be turned around fairly quickly. Some of the more elaborate and bigger video ideas that would be more long form, I keep in a separate list. But having just quick hitting video ideas, just a constant stream of them, or a big list of them, is something that I've found to be super helpful in my consistency practice. Because I know if I ever get caught up and ever don't know what to shoot for a day, I can just reference this list and boom, got some content. And one thing to note here is you shouldn't be laboring over the brainstorming process. Brainstorming should be fun, easy, and if you're failing to pick up on new, fresh ideas for your content, observe your competitors' feeds. Steal like an artist. Document what you're seeing in your own social media feeds and on LinkedIn and on Facebook, and see what's working for other people and analyze how you can steal that idea and apply it to you and your content. Brainstorming and ideas, they don't have to be all original. Ideas generally are almost always spin-offs of things that have already been done before. So brainstorming should not feel like this big, intimidating, laborious process. Coming up with a quick hitting list of video ideas can start with just, what are the top 3 posts that you see when you open Instagram? What are the top 3 posts that you scroll past on your LinkedIn feed? How can I spin that and apply it to my own content? So that is the ideation process broken down, and hopefully that enables you to get a little bit faster with it and not waste so much time coming up with the golden big home run idea. We're not going for home runs here. We're going for singles and doubles. Moving on to scripting. There is a very simple, easy answer to shorten your scripting time, and that is just don't do it. Don't write a script. And that's kind of a cop-out, but there are some things that you can do instead of writing out a full script. Instead, you can make bullet points. Don't write out word for word what you're going to say in a video, but instead just make bullet points of your general talking points, the things that you know you have to hit, and then wing it for most of the video. As long as you hit those bullet points, we're golden. You can use your voice memo app to talk through and dictate what you want to say before you actually shoot. So if you get the words out and you have a sense for how you want to say these things on camera, it can help to kind of talk through it beforehand, and then the phrasing and the tonality, it will already kind of be established in your head so that when you hit record, you know exactly what you're saying. And the last thing that you can do instead of writing out a full script is just script your hook and wing everything else. Again, you can assist this by having bullet points or by using your voice memo app to talk through what you want to say. But if you script your hook and you know what the original idea of the video is, the thing that is going to reel in your audience, then everything else that follows it should be in support of that hook and should be the explainer. But if you only script your hook and the rest of the video is somewhat free-flowing, that's a pretty effective way to ditch the script writing process and still make a compelling piece of content. So that is the scripting process. Hopefully we're all following along here. Moving on to gear setup. This is a fun one because there are countless ways to set up gear, countless cameras that you can use, lighting and gadgets and audio and all of this stuff. I'm going to break this down very simply, and the number one way you can shave time off of your gear setup is to go to a quiet room, prop up your iPhone, and face natural light, and just hit record. This is iPhone exclusive, and this is a screenshot here of a recent LinkedIn post that I made with a video. I did exactly this. I went into a quiet room. I made sure that my face was lit just by natural light. I didn't use any additional lighting. I propped up my iPhone, talked to my phone for a minute, and this post just crossed 200,000 impressions at the time of this recording. The screenshot here, it was approaching 200K, but sometimes the least amount of effort you put into gear, the better your video performs. And of course, it depends on what you're speaking about in that video. In this particular video, I was talking about how your videos don't need to be polished, and you don't need to have a fancy setup with a fancy camera. And I say this with so much love, but if you are failing to hit your consistency goals and your gear setup takes longer than just propping up your iPhone and hitting record, you are doing too much. You need to focus less on the gear and the quality of your gear and focus more on just shooting the content. Simplify, simplify, simplify. Hopefully that lands. Hopefully that takes some pressure off if you're struggling with like, oh, what's my best audio quality? What's the best camera that I should be using? Doesn't matter. Use your iPhone, find a well-lit room, and go to town. Just shoot some videos. Moving on to actually shooting. This process definitely varies, especially depending on the type of content that you're aiming to produce, right? I've been talking a lot about short form vertical videos, but obviously there are folks here in the group that primarily produce long form horizontal content. But the shooting process usually can take longer if, number one, if you do have a script that you're reading and have to nail word for word, or number two, it can take longer if you find yourself stumbling over your words and just doing take after take after take. So here is my personal framework for keeping the number of takes capped at about 3 or 4 per video that I shoot. So my framework for takes is take 1, I just try to get the words out. I try to get out the entire idea for the video from beginning to end in one fell swoop. I may stumble over my words, but I'm trying to go from beginning to end and just get the words out. Take 2, I'm trying to establish tonality. So if the first take sounded like a little bit robotic, that I was trying to make sure I told the story correctly. Take 2 is all about, okay, but how would I say this if I was talking to a friend or talking to a potential customer? Take 2 is all about tonality, and take 3 is I'm marrying the right words with the right tone. And I use this framework for pretty much every single video that I shoot. And for pretty much every single video that I shoot, I'm able to nail the takes within 3 or less. It doesn't always take me 3 tries of shooting a video to get it right. Sometimes I nail it on the first try, and that's awesome. But in doing this, because most of the content that I publish is relatively short form, I would say it's 30 to 90 seconds, I can easily shoot a video in 5 to 10 minutes and call it a day. That is my framework for limiting the number of takes that I need. And obviously, if you need more, if you want to take a couple more stabs at the hook, then by all means, take that time. But this is how I have gotten my shooting time way, way down. And next up, we have post-production. And this is, again, something that's going to vary greatly depending on the software you're using, what device you're editing your footage on. Some people edit everything on their phone. Some people edit everything in Premiere or some other editing software. You should be setting yourself up for success. And the simpler you keep steps 1 through 4, so the ideation, scripting, gear setup, and shooting, the easier your post-production will be. You essentially, if you have a great idea, if you riff on a couple of bullet points and keep your takes relatively short and sweet, you will need minimal post-production. And sometimes you don't need any at all, but we'll get to that in a minute. So some shortcuts to help shave some time off of your post-production process. I use this generally when I'm editing videos, is I try to get the rough cut or the base story into my timeline before adding any other effects. So before I even think about captions or color grading or transitions, all I'm trying to do is make sure that my cuts are telling the story that I want to be telling in a smooth, easy way. And that process takes generally 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how long the takes that I was shooting were. But as soon as I have that rough cut and that base story down, that's when I get the luxury of thinking about, okay, well, what captions would look good with this video? Do I need any zoom in, zoom out effects to put emphasis on certain words? But all of that, total afterthoughts. As long as the content and the story is clear, I could export it and throw it up on any social media site and feel relatively good about it. Of course, I like to add my aesthetically driven effects, but that's just a personal preference. There are plenty of people out there who full send raw videos, which I respect the hell out of, because they are adhering to some sort of regular publishing schedule, and they're not weighing themselves down with extra steps in post-production and letting that hinder them from publishing. The other notable thing here is to look into keyboard shortcuts if you're using Adobe Premiere or Final Cut or some other editing software on your computer. Keyboard shortcuts have made my life so much easier in the editing suites, because my left hand can constantly be on my keyboard and be cutting and slicing and zooming in and zooming out of footage, while my right hand is on my mouse and dragging clips where I need them to go. It just makes the whole editing process much more efficient. So if you haven't set up keyboard shortcuts in your editing suite, I would take an afternoon, set aside some time to do that, and set it up so that you know, like, okay, this is where my hands and my fingers naturally fall on the keyboard. And so it makes sense. I'm not like jumping all around. I can send you, if this is of interest to anyone, I can send you a link to the direct keyboard shortcuts that I use all the time. And you can install them in your own editing suite. But keyboard shortcuts, definitely a time saver. They make the editing process super efficient, and I love them. So just to recap, post-production, get your rough cut done before adding any other effects, and you can even export it and full send that rough cut if you want. Keyboard shortcuts, and if you follow steps 1 through 4 relatively well and you feel good about the raw video that you shot, you may not even need to edit. It is still fully okay to publish a raw, unedited video, just to, again, adhere to your consistency goals. And then the last thing I'll say on post-production is editing directly in-app not only will likely make your video perform better in that app. TikTok really likes when you use their editing suite. Instagram really likes when you use their editing suite. They definitely tend to push out those videos more if you edit in-app versus upload a fully edited video. But you are also able to download edited videos in TikTok and from Instagram on third-party sites, and you'll be able to download those edited videos that you made without the respective watermark. So sometimes you'll see videos posted on LinkedIn, but they clearly have the TikTok watermark floating around on them. And these are 2 sites, and I'll share these in school after this presentation. 2 sites that I use to download my TikToks directly from the app, and it downloads without the watermarks. And I also use this for my Reels all the time. So in case you want to save time by not uploading all of your short form vertical video footage to your desktop or laptop editing suite, and you just want to edit right in Reels or right in TikTok, this is an easy way to download those finished edited videos and be able to cross-post and cross-promote. And then finally, we have publishing and analyzing the data, and then just rinsing and repeating. Publishing essentially should take no time. If you're overthinking the captions or the hashtags, that's not something that you should be considering at all until you've published at least 10, 20, 50 videos. Start worrying about the captions, the hashtags, and whatever once you've actually gotten videos into circulation and seen which videos your audience is actually responding to, which of course comes with the data analysis portion of this whole process. The more videos you publish, the faster you publish, the more and faster you'll be able to iterate on the new videos that you make. And how will you know what your audience is responding to if you're not publishing with regularity consistently? Thanks to everyone for watching.